Hello, everyone, and welcome back. As it was requested by some of the fans, we have the VB06 Konig Monster Veritech. Um, so this one took a little bit of searching to find. I did not have actual stats for this anywhere else. I do apologize. I did not transfer this into a D6 version. I think they have pretty good stats here for doing this in a role playing game. I don't know the actual role playing game uh, variant that they were doing this for. So for that, I do apologize. Um, but we'll get into this here. Um, I think they ran into some of the same problems I kind of run into looking at the write up here. So the VB06 Coin Monster was part of the REF's knee jerk reaction to the advent of the Orgus Veritech, along with the Tiger Shark class submersible Veritech. The engineering behind the coin was a mash of the HAS 1 2, the VB07 Beta, and the ancient RDF era Star Goose class shuttle. The program was originally proposed by none other than Emil Lang himself while aboard the SDF 1 Macross, but it never advanced beyond a sketch and a very badly done one. At the single page of handwritten notes on the back, his own notes, most of them mathematical equations or questions related to them, closed with the line, not possible at this time, could new power plant overcome heavy. At first, REF engineers were going to pass over the project, but one engineer, Dr. Marcy Harif Creighton, took a second look, or, as she put it, never stopped talking or taking a first look, carefully worked over every equation. Dr. Harif realized Dr. Lang's problem wasn't the power plant itself, but the flight characteristics. He had been dedicated to a flight capable mecha, and the ship, um, as it was conceived, was simply too heavy to do so. Dr. Lang's answer was to install a bigger power plant to develop more thrust. Dr. Harif realized the answer was an improving technology, the UGC. The advent of grav pods made flight possible, even for this big beast. The coin does suffer from several shortcomings. Firstly, it cannot fly in Guardian mode except straight up. While this gives it an effective unlimited jump, can easily achieve orbit this way. The mecha is simply too heavy to fly in this mode in any kind of controlled flight. In point of fact, it could fly up to full bomber mode speed so uncontrollably that the only reason it doesn't crash and blow up would only be by luck, um, and in no way a reflection of the pilot's skill. Secondly, the main guns cannot be fired in flight in a gravity well. The recoil of the guns will cause the craft to crash. There is no recovering from this event. Thirdly, because of the complexities of the mecha, typically a crew of three is required to man them. One of the crew, one the crew commander, typically a lieutenant captain, a lieutenant and or captain, simply directs the action. The second, a flight systems operator, pilot, typically a lieutenant, junior grade, or second lieutenant, flies the mecha and monitors the sensory equipment. The other of these systems purely of the targeting nature. The third member of the crew, the weapons systems controller, an ensign or first lieutenant, controls the release of the weapons systems and monitors those sensors required to track enemy and friendly forces. The Dragonfly system can be installed, allowing the mecha to be controlled by a single pilot, but at some loss of abilities. The mecha also isn't terribly maneuverable in the air or on the ground. The mecha can't easily dodge an incoming attack. Lastly, the size of the mecha makes it horribly vulnerable to smaller mecha on the ground. On the other hand, the mecha also has several advantages, some of which are conditional on the shortcomings just mentioned. First and foremost, unlike most big mecha, the Koing can fire the main guns in flight outside of gravity well, or out in orbit. The pilot suffers a uh, momentary total loss of control, then can recover totally after one successful uh, normal pilot skill roll. In fact, the losing my place here. The spin characteristics are so predictable that some, slightly more brazen and skilled pilots don't bother trying to recover and take a second snapshot before recovering from the spin. The Orcus pilots have been or have faced this type of attack, yet um, to even be able to report back, there have been zero Orgus pilots that have survived this type of attack. For reasons not clear, Orgus pilots in orbit assume that once a coin opens fire the first time, they simply have to dodge the attack and then can press a new attack, leaving them completely open to attack, possibly the loss of situational awareness. Secondly, like the Mac, 2 has one. The coin can carry troops into battle up to 2 dozen power armor troopers in any standard variety of armored vehicle. The mecha also has a built in variable force field. Even a standard force field is a rarity for mecha of any size, and while not impervious to all attacks, it can more than more than take a hit. The shield must be lowered to fire the weapons, though. But since the force field interrupt button is the fire control button, the force field is effectively down for a nanosecond, effectively never down. The legs of the coin are literally coated with command detonated mines, making a ground level assault practically impossible. They also are armored with a Cyril plant armor. Grav pods can still attack, but that's about it. And since the mines all over the feet can easily blast off anything heavier than light guardian, even the most suicidal enemy just don't bother trying anymore. Not that they don't try before discovering that it didn't work. Despite the Koing's design's designation as a bomber, the mecha doesn't or does not actually carry bombs per se internally. Instead, they carry the missiles used by the rail launcher, weapon systems option 1, and a few more external weapons. And despite the lack of bomb bay, the coin is intended as the best utilized as a bomber role. Unfortunately, the only mecha the coin can effectively engage is the Orgus. Their infamous blindness, combined with the coin's much heavier armor and weapons, gives it a decided advantage. However, the Orgus radar and other weapon or other sensors are upgraded. They may easily overcome these deficits. However, the coin could then still deploy against enemy ships, although in general, other platforms. Uh, as I kind of lose my spot here. Um, all right. Other platforms are more cost effective. The coin does cost slightly more than an Armada class medium cruiser. Last note here, normally the main body of the mecha is referred to as the torso, In this case of the VB06 Koning Monster Veritech, however, it is referred to as the hull due to their size. Legs and legs and swing them around like a toy, but have surprising dexterity. And with the Dragonfly augmentation kit, the pilot can feel what they're grasping. I feel like I've missed a line here. Um, I think I did. All right, well, let me kind of reread that because obviously something didn't make sense in my own little mind. So I apologize here. As an afterthought, hands were installed on the elbow end of the arms, allowing the mecha to grasp, albeit limited. Um, Other objects, of course, hands that big can grab most other mecha by their legs and swing them around like a toy. Okay, that's why things didn't make sense. But have surprising dexterity, and with the Dragonfly augmentation, the pilot can feel what they are grasping, allowing uh, the pilot to actually pick individual flowers without crushing them. The actual test, along with the crystal glass. Has a crew of three. The Dragonfly augmentation kit allows the ship to be paired um, to a single pilot, but then suffers a negative 15% to pilot and loses one attack per melee. Okay, and this is all brought to us, and I want to make sure this has all been done by Daniel Henwood, background, and that was by Andy Redson. So they're the ones that have created this. Big shout out to them as we look everything over. Off to the side here, we do have a little bit of stats that they've given us. The Koing has a speed of running at 60 miles an hour, flying bomber about 600 miles per hour, and flying Guardian mode is 400 miles per hour. Cruising speed in Guardian is at 200 miles an hour. Service ceiling is shoot. I don't know what the first service ceiling is. About 1,000 feet length, and for Guardian is feet. Bomber, yeah, they didn't put a length down here for Guardian. The bomber is at 97 feet, um, 6.25 inches. Width as a bomber is 80 feet. Height, Guardian is 82 feet, and the bomber is 22 feet. Weight, we have 224,689 tons. Physical strength is equal to a PS of 40. Cost is 26 million credits. Rarely available yet. Weapon systems. So really, this is has listed here because I was kind of going through all this and I was going to try and do this in the D6, but I just kind of ran out of time and I wanted to get this up for you guys before I kind of transition a little bit more into doing a battle tech. Because I know that this was asked by some of you, and I really wanted to make sure I did not forget. Um, but we have the same weapons capabilities of this, the Monster 2. The difference is, even though it's technically the same weapon capabilities, they are slightly different weapons that give it the same capability. And reading farther on down here, as we get everything going here. Speed and characteristics. All right. So we have weapon systems. Weapon system one. We have the quad L28Z rail launcher. Originally, four 40 centimeter cannons were selected for the main guns of the Mac 2. These proved very effective for many years, but the advent of the rail launchers and uh, Turkey, the destroyed worried REF robo technologists that the UGC was falling behind. The L-28 was therefore developed specifically for the HAZ series, but never implemented. The VB06 Koning Monster's unique configuration forced the REF to reconsider the 40 centimeter cannons. I think it's supposed to be millimeter, honestly. Um, wouldn't fit. The barrels would be, or the barrels would, but breeches were too wide and too long. The L-15B rail launcher breeches would, though. The two were engineered together, creating the L-28. This system is radar controlled and designed for MRMs. So we're having essentially the same type of weapons, but these are upgraded that would actually work better inside the vehicles. So, two, we have the heavy laser cannons located in the arms. These are the exact same type used on the Mac 2, three in each arm. Um, it's a 1d4 times 10 per number of barrels. Um, there are these. There are three barrels per arm. So this tells me this is more like a GURPS um, setting. Yes, I think it is because that would the MD is mega damage. So this is all for GURPS. This would very easily just transfer over to being like a we already have the weapon stats here in the D6 on rpggamer.org. You could just take this, easily run it, and then we do have the length and all that. I just ran out of time for doing this. Um, I really wanted to do this last night, but unfortunately, because of the kind of messing up in how I was posting some of my GI Joe posts here on YouTube, um, people or part of the pages were being cut off. So I spent the extra time doing that last night, and I just didn't get to this. But I really wanted to get to this for you guys. Forgetting that if it's something we really want to have the stats for, just give me a shout out, and we will get the stats up here. It's just going to take a little bit more time. It's hard trying to balance the work life, the family life, and trying to get all this all done at the same time. Sometimes things lag behind. Um, we also have the heavy. We already mentioned the heavy laser cannons. We have the light laser cannons. There's 8 of them. Um, actually, a misnomer. These are the lasers used on the used on the Radar X. Okay, so slight miswording here, but these are the same for the Radar X. These two are located in the arms. This is a 3d6 per number of barrels. There are 2 barrels per arm. Has a range of about 8 miles. We have the SRM battery. We have 40 missiles per magazine. Takes 20 minutes to reload. We do have landmines. There's about 500 of these. These are located on the legs. We do have hand-to-hand combat. So punch is going to be a 3d6 mega damage. Power is 2 attacks, and it's a 6d6 or a power punch. I'm sorry, is 2 attacks. That's a 66 mega damage. Kick is a 5d6 mega damage. A leap kick. I don't know how we're really doing that so much, but it's a game. Let's have fun with it. It's a 1d6 times 10 mega damage. Parry attack, shield bash is a 3d6 mega damage. Body block tackle is a 3d6 mega damage. And body flip throw. Um, Now, I do know that we did have uh, Robotech and Macross done in GURPS a long time ago, and I think that that's what they had created all this for. Um, and I'm just going to throw out my own little funny anecdote here. The leap kick being a 1d6 times 10 mega damage. That's what I would always, with my group, call just squash damage. It's just that hilariousness of Bigfoot just stepping on an ant, kind of, it just went squish and it's just gone. Um, and of course, we have our normal features in here: ESM, radar detector, uh, Blue Force tracker, GPS, anti jammer system, HUD display, uh, video camera, all the normal stuff that we would typically find from the cartoon and all that. Let's see, Mecha Combat Elite, and then we have a random hit table. So if you're trying to do this, and you want to have a random hit, we also have that in here as well. This is a very interesting machine. Thank you for asking me to try and post this because honestly, I've kind of forgotten about this because it's been a little while since I've watched through Robotech. So as time fades, so does some of our memories. And being able to bring this out to you and having this is kind of an interesting thing. And it's nice how they've taken the old monster and redone it so that way it does go into a bomber craft. So, with that, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's always wonderful having you here. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next video.